are the Insiders. P.L. LeBron here in studio. Darren Dreger joins us from his home office. Darren, as soon as the buyout window opened up on Friday, you joined us on That's Hockey and told us to watch for the Rangers potentially making a move on Henrik Lundqvist. Is that now coming to fruition?
It really is, Gino, and unfortunately for Henrik Lundqvist, there will be a separation from the New York Rangers by form of that buyout. Now, it's an easy story to follow. Unfortunately for the New York Rangers, they've made it clear that they would not go with a three-goalie system, and Henrik Lundqvist, at 38 years of age, as decorated as a goaltender as he is with the New York Rangers organization, the time has come for the two sides to separate. And I believe that the New York Rangers, perhaps as early as Wednesday, will announce that they have moved forward with the buyout of the final year of the contract of Henrik Lundqvist. And this would not come easy to the New York Rangers, again, given everything that Lundqvist has provided to the Rangers as an organization. This was a tough decision, but a decision that has to be made moving forward.
He's been a legend in that organization. All right, now the Stanley Cup has been handed out. The offseason is officially upon us. And with just a week until the NHL draft, 10 days until the opening of free agency, there have been plenty of talk about draft-eligible players, free agents, and what players could be traded. Darren, the Oilers are looking to fill a couple of needs, and they're looking at one particular defenseman on the Arizona Coyotes blue line.
Well, they've inquired, certainly. There's been discussions on Oliver Ekman-Larsson, but, you know, go to Cap Friendly and you can see that this is a big ticket and a long term coming back the other way. And there has been significant trade interest expressed in the captain of the Arizona Coyotes, and the Edmonton Oilers are among the teams with some interest. Now, it's in the preliminary phases, and again, given the cap hit that Oliver Ekman-Larsson brings back, this is not going to be an easy transaction for Ken Holland and the Edmonton Oilers. So it's in the preliminary stages. I would put Boston in that group as well with teams of interest. But also keep in mind here, guys, you know, Oliver Ekman-Larsson has trade protection. So he is, to some degree, going to manage this process. But Edmonton most definitely is in the mix.
Yeah, in the meantime, the Oilers, of course, have to figure out their goaltending. And so we reported before that they spoke to Pittsburgh about Matt Murray. We believe they've shown interest in Darcy Kemper in Arizona. I can also tell you that they've shown interest in Peter Mrazek of the Carolina Hurricanes. And I think in Mrazek's case, a goalie that Ken Holland and Edmonton knows well from his days in Detroit, that would be more of a plan B, that if they can't upgrade in a more serious fashion, that perhaps they can circle back to Carolina at some point and end up with Mrazek. And keep in mind as well that I think the Oilers are keeping a close eye on what happens with Jacob Markstrom in those negotiations with the Vancouver Canucks.
Speaking of the Canucks, Canucks GM Jim Benning said he's expecting more from Jake Virtanen after the Canucks were eliminated from the playoffs by Vegas in the second round, and that some tough decisions were going to have to be made. Virtanen had 24 goals this past season. He's a restricted free agent with arbitration rights. With an impending raise, is it looking more and more likely like the Canucks will move their hometown winger?
Well, they may not have a choice, Gino. I mean, Jim Benning, the general manager there, obviously has to listen, and he's looking at every option possible. Jake Virtanen is a valuable piece of the Vancouver Canucks organization. They would love to keep him, but, you know, it doesn't take a mathematician to look at the numbers in Vancouver, and you can realize all the work that Jim Benning has to do. There's a lot of trade interest in Jake Virtanen, and when you look around some of the other players similar age who have developed on a similar path, who produce similar numbers, you're looking at Jake Virtanen somewhere in a 2-year contract at around $3 million. So no doubt that the Vancouver Canucks would like to keep him, but they're also intrigued by the interest.
Pierre, less than 24 hours after the Lightning hoisted the Stanley Cup, it'd be nice if Julien Brisebois could sit back and enjoy the spoils of his victory. But he's got to get right back to work. He's got some important decisions to make about some of the futures of key players who had big roles in leading them to the Stanley Cup.
Gino, I can tell you he did not get a day off, unlike probably a lot of his players after this Stanley Cup championship. From talking to other people around the league, Julien Brisebois already on the phone as of Tuesday. He's got to shed about $10 million of cap space here over the next few weeks, and it's not going to be easy. Now, certainly there are some players that you look at that are obvious target. Tyler Johnson, who has 4 years left at a $5 million AAV. Yanni Gourde, a lot of teams believe could be in play. 5 years left at north of $5 million a year. Here's the problem. Those two guys, they got a full no trade. And if they don't want to go anywhere, they won't. So this is going to be delicate for Julien Brisebois. One thing I was told by a source on this day, that the Lightning could surprise us here, that it may not necessarily be the player that you think that ends up getting moved. They have got to move cap space. Sergachev and Cirelli could be offers with targets of an offer sheet. They got to get those guys signed.
Wow. Steve Yzerman turned over the GM reins to Julien Brisebois September 11, 2018. 2 years later, he's a Stanley Cup champion. 24 hours after that, he's being asked, so what are you going to do